This episode of The Rogue Market is proudly presented and sponsored by Quiet Speculation. Looking to up your game in the Magic the Gathering finance world? Sign up today for instant access to the best financial minds in the industry, up-to-the-minute pricing tools, and other insider knowledge. Use the link in the description below to support this series. For this week, I want to talk about Pro Tour Ixalan, and not just Pro Tour Ixalan, but the impending rotation that is going to be occurring, and what cards that we might be able to spec into with the Pro Tour Ixalan results, the Rivals over Ixalan spoilers, or just all of the cards that will be rotating out of the format, and what opportunities that leaves for potential cards that may be staples in the meta. So, without further ado, I'm going to give you my top 10 cards that I am following closely from the Pro Tour Ixalan, Rivals over Ixalan spoilers, and impending rotation in next September. Starting off the list at number 10 is Marion Master. If you've been following my channel, you may know that I'm in love with the Marion Master combo with the God Pharaoh's Gift and the Metalwork Colossus. However, this doesn't factor into the reasoning of why I like Marion Master. It has been on the uptrend since treasures were spoiled on Ixalan, and there's no reason to think that there won't be more treasures in Rivals over Ixalan, and I think we're just missing another treasure map type card to really push Marion Master over the top for the treasure tribal type deck. It is definitely our best way to finish off our opponent utilizing the sacrifice outlet of the treasures. And there have been some very interesting cards with one of the set, and we're going to see a full another set coming out in Rivals over Ixalan. And I think that it is a casual favorite. Of course, Conley Woods has been brewing around with this deck in his Esper Puppet to pretty good, a lot of streams, and also a pretty good finishes in some standard PTQs and on his streams. So I think that Marion Master, of course, is one of those cards that doesn't have a lot of time to go up in value, but the demand has already been outstretching the supply for months. And I think that it is going to continue to go up until it's proven that it's not playable in Rivals of Ixalan. So for whatever reason, there isn't any treasure cards that pair well with it. That's when I think we'll start to see a flatline and a decline. So when shortly after Rivals over Ixalan is released, I think is when it should hit its peak. Either if there isn't cards that support it, or if there is cards that do support it, a couple weeks after the set when people buy into the hype. And I think that you should start to sell off at around a $3 mark. So currently, it is sitting at $1.25. It hasn't been unreasonable. I've picked up many cards on sites like Cardsphere or TCG Low for 35 cents a piece. And I'm expecting if this does get to 3 to 4, the demand hype will be so high that places like the Card Kingdom will actually offer a $2 buy list price for that. So currently the spread is quite low. Not a lot of sites are offering a lot for the Marion Master, but I think this will change once it does outstretch the supply. The demand does outstretch the supply significantly. And a place like Card Kingdom that has mainly casual players buying at the site, we could see this card just evaporate from their stock. So I don't like it that it is a first set rare. However, the Kaladesh is far enough away that even a first set rare has a potential to go up quite significantly if it becomes both a competitive and a casual favorite. The reward is definitely greater than the risk in this aspect because there's going to be more treasures, and it's just right there on the cusp of going up in value. Next up at number 9 is Heart of Khorran. So why Heart of Khorran? Well, Heart of Khorran is at its all-time low right now. It is flat line down to about $7.50. And just a short time ago, this card hit upwards to the $25 mark. So Heart of Khorran is a very powerful card, which I think gets better with the more cards in the card pool. Currently, there isn't that Planeswalker that synergizes perfectly with it. Chandra's okay, but the other Planeswalkers currently are not a great pairing for Heart of Khorran. If we get either a mono white or mono black Planeswalker that is printed in the Rivals over Ixalan with a low casting cost, we're talking about 3 or 4, we could see a Heart of Khorran go in a list like that. But what I like about Heart of Khorran right now is Mardu decks are on the rise. They have started to see a lot more play in Standard as they can compete toe-to-toe with both the sheer power of Ramunap, and it cannot actually compete with the energy decks. So I think that Heart of Khorran hasn't seen its last days in the sun. I'm definitely keeping my eye on Pro Tour, especially for Heart of Quran, because if Marta Vehicles does do very well at this Pro Tour, you're going to need to get in on it as quickly as possible, because this is the bottom. A Mythic from a second set has a huge potential to spike up in value. If this wins the Pro Tour, I expect to double up, and then you should be selling these off in the weeks to follow. Coming in at number 8 is Carnage Tyrant. So why Carnage Tyrant? This one's an easy one. We have another set coming out, Rivals of Ixalan, that is going to be focused on dinosaurs as one of the tribes. Currently, however, the control decks of choice are going to be the Abzan tokens and the blue-white control, with both used the sweeper of Fumigate. If the black-blue control deck that dominated at the Worlds, it dominates this Pro Tour, which runs cards like Vraska's Contempt as the spot removal and a few other one-for-one type cards, Carnage Tyrant is basically the silver bullet against that deck. However, if you white control or Abzan tokens is the control deck at choice at Pro Tour, we could actually see the price of Carnage Tyrant bottom out, which leaves us with a nice little opportunity to buy in. So when should we buy into Carnage Tyrant? Well, factoring in those factors, if of course black-blue control does very well on day 1, day 2, maybe wins a Pro Tour, you should expect Teamer Energy to pick up Carnage Tyrant as their go-to card, bringing Carnage Tyrant's popularity up, I would say, tenfold as it is now. If the blue-black control does very poorly and white-blue control does well or Absent Tokens does well, then we should expect the price of Carnage Tyrant to drop drastically, as it is not seeing any sort of play and could easily crash down from its price of $19 at a more reasonable price of, I would say, between $10 to $12. Again, you would have to check the spoiler season, because dinosaurs are just at the cusp of being good. And then again, after rotation, a lot of the very, very good cards against the dinosaur tribe are rotating out, mainly Fumigate. So where should we buy into this? I think the $10 to $12 range is reasonable, because I think somewhere in the life of Carnage Tyrant, it's going to see play, and it's going to see play in multiples. So as a mythic, it could easily hit that $20 mark again, as we've seen with Torrential Gearhulk. Torrential Gearhulk has been one of those cards that has been a roller coaster. You just need to sell at the top end of the roller coaster and buy at the low end. Number 7 is a collection of cards that I like to call the Energy Flex Slot cards. Temur, Sultai, 4-color Energy all have a very similar shell, but it leaves them open for the flex slot cards, is what I like to call them. On this list are cards like Nissa, Steward of Elements, Nissa, Vital Force, Vizier of Many Faces, Sky Silver and Consul's Flagship, Confiscation Coup, River's Rebuke, and Gonti, Lord of Luxury. What I like about all of these cards is collectively they're all at their lows, as none of them have really found a solidified spot in Standard. Pro Tour is an excellent time to get in on hype cards that might not stick around for a while. Some of these have already started to spike on MTGO recently, as people have been playing around with the different cards in that Energy Flex spot. This is something day one. You want to identify the one that sees the most camera time, the one that has the best record, and buy into that. So I think there's going to be one clear winner here, whichever one hits that slot. The thing about the Pro Tour is teams tend to be all on the same list. So if there happens to be a team that is running an energy deck, then they probably will all be on a particular strategy or particular card. So keep your eyes peeled on day number 1. And like I said, you're going to be getting rid of these in the next couple weeks, because all of them, with the exception of River's Rebuke, is going to be rotating. Next up on our list is Vraska Relicseeker, coming in at number 6. I think this Pro Tour is going to be the make or break for Vraska. Currently, it's being used in some 4-color energy decks, as well as a pretty staple card in a lot of the Abzan tokens. So if neither of those, whether it be the 4-color variants or the Abzan tokens lists, do well, I think Vraska is going to have a free fall after this Pro Tour. Historically, it's almost at its highest price, and I don't think that this price can stay at the $17.50. So if this is going to continue at its price or slightly go up, it needs to have a really good showing at the Pro Tour. If not, I think it's an immediate sell. The good news is there is still demand for this card, so I think you can still get out of it around the $15, $16, $17, $18 mark. And that wouldn't be unreasonable. I think this card is going to have a roller coaster effect for this card. When it's good, it's going to spike up. When it's not good, it's going to crash down in value. As these two-color Planeswalkers are much more inflexible than their monocolor counterparts. On to number 5. Number 5 is more of a speculation card if we get a ramp spell. So I'm not expecting this to see any copies of the Pro Tour. There has been some white green ramp decks that have run this, some different approach type decks that have this as an alternate win condition. This is Awakening Sun's Avatar at number 5, and why I like this, it has an extremely low price point to get into and has even lower buy lists, so meaning that the stores aren't actively buying the Awakening Sun's Avatar. So this gives you an opportunity to get this in at insanely low. I wouldn't be surprised if you can pick these up for 50 cents or below, and I think that the reward is greater than the risk for this particular card, as the power level is definitely there. A one-sided board wipe is something that is always going to be powerful in the standard formats. We have a good ramp card with Hour of Promise, but we could actually get even better ramp cards printed in the future with Rivals over Ixalan, and then other sets coming out. The set after that, post-rotation, you want to definitely check out that to see if there is a decent ramp card that ramps in the Awakening Sun's Avatar, as I think this is a win condition and a control card all in itself. So that's kind of the perfect package if the end ends up being a 4-of deck with this. This card, think of like World Breaker. World Breaker had a price tag that bottomed out until it found a home. And every time there's a card like this, when it doesn't see play, it crashes hard. And then if there is a archetype that does run it, it can go up easily to $8, $9, $10 range. And again, I think that the risk is greater than the reward, especially if you can get in at the 50-cent range. Number 4 is an archetype 4 and 3, but I'm ranking these differently based upon rotation, as I think the other one is more flexible. Number 3 will be more flexible than my number 4. Number 4 is the Harsh Mentor. Harsh Mentor is currently starting to see a ton of play in the Ramming Up Red sideboards, as well as I've seen a few in the main. And it's because it is very good counter to Teamer Energy. Long Tusk Cub, Bristling Hydra, use activated abilities. Right now, what I'm really looking at this is if the Ramming Up Reds did adopt, there is rumors out there that Ramming Up Red is going to be one of the premier decks at the Pro Tour, that some teams are on Ramming Up Red, as it has favorable matchups across the board. And Harsh Mentor is the key card for the teamer. So if that, or the teamer matchup. So if that does come to fruition and these rumors are true, I think Harsh Mentor does have time to spike up in value. Yes, it's a first set rare. Yes, it will be rotating soon. But it does have that low price point to get into. And again, this could be just one of those flavor of the week type cards that bumps up to $3. You buy list it for $2, you double your money right there. And yeah, I think, again, the reward is greater than the risk for the Harsh Mentor. So you don't have to buy right now. You want to keep your eye on day 1 of the Pro Tour to see if the Roundup Reds are adopting this card. On to the number 3 that is also a Ramming Up Red card is the Rampaging Frosted On. What I like about this card is it's a lot more flexible. It's not rotating. And I think that we might have more of like a big red strategy after rotation. We're losing Fumigate, we're losing Hour of Devastation, we're losing a lot of good board wipes. And a card like Rampaging Frosted On right now also counters swarm-based strategies. And so if it becomes to a spot removal-based format after rotation, the Rampaging Frosted On would definitely be a good punishing element to the go wide strategy that will start to counter the kind of spot removal strategies. So right now, Rampaging Frosted also does a very good job against like hidden stockpile decks, Oro Catcher's Monument decks, or other swarm-based strategy decks in the format at the moment. A lot of the Ramming Up Red decks have 4 of these in the sideboard because that's how well this card does against the variety of the matchups. It's good versus Teamer. When the Whirler Virtuoso activates, it taxes them a life. The Menace is also very relevant, the 3/3 body for 3. So Dinosaur Tribal, I think, will want this if dinosaurs do become a thing post-rotation, if vampires become a deck, or even pirates become a deck, this is a great counter card towards those. So this is something that you should be looking very closely at this card, not only during the Pro Tour, but during spoiler season, during how the decks kind of shape up after Rivals, and how the decks foreseeably will start to shape up after rotation. So if you can get in these at a reasonable price, I think the Rampaging Frosted On could be a quick double up after this Pro Tour if it does find a home in the Rampant Red, or Rampant Red does well. On it to my number 2. My number 2 is a long-term thing. It's the Regisaur Alpha. A lot of people have already been saying that it pairs very well with the spoiled card, the legendary 14 drop, the 12/12 trample, as you'll have 7 power on board. With the Regisaur Alpha, the next turn you can untap and cast it. It also gives it haste. So casuals are going to like it for that reason. However, I think that this card is extremely good post-rotation. Right now, there's a huge problem to Regisaur Alpha. It's called Glorybringer. Glorybringer really outclasses the Regisaur Alpha, both as a similar 5-drop card, as it's a 4/4 haste that does 4 damage to a creature, has pseudo unblockable with flying. So right there, it's more evasive than the 3/3 token that comes into play, so you get a little bit more value out of the Glorybringer, as well as it kills the Regisaur Alpha. So any deck that would play this is going to suffer from the Glorybringer coming down, killing the Regisaur Alpha, and then the 3/3 is just not doing very well right now in the meta. So, but after rotation, once again, we lose Fumigate, we lose the other black board wipes. We lose the Hour of Devastation, that even though it's not seeing play right now, it's always looming to punish these sort of value cards that add another token. So for those reasons, I think the Alpha, once Glorybringer and those board wipes are out of the equation, this card is an extremely value card. So, and then we're losing all of the value-based cards. So everything else in Ixalan kind of pales in comparison to the value this creates, the 7 power on board for just 5. So right now, the buy list prices are quite miserable. There are only a few vendors actually paying more than $1 for this card, and some even paying as low as 50 cents for the Regisaur Alpha. So it's not unreasonable you can get in this card for $1 to $2. And then I think somewhere in the life of Regisaur Alpha, this is going to go back up to the $5 price tag at a sell price, or even at a buy list price at like $3.54 is not unreasonable if this goes up to like an $8 cards, if Dinosaurs becomes kind of a tier 1 strategy post rotation. So keep your eye on this. If you can find deals for the Regisaur Alphas, take them. I think it's a very, very solid card right now, and it should have I don't expect any of these to be at the Pro Tour. You might find it in the Energy Flex slot, but so far no one's really running it. Like I said, it just gets outclassed by everything, by the clogged up board state that Teamer offers. It doesn't do very well versus Rampant Red. It doesn't do very well versus UI control, and it doesn't even do very well against Torrential Gearhulk or Scarab God control either. So it just doesn't have a home right now in the meta, but things are so subject to change. This is go from one of those cards like, man, it's horrible now, but now it's a bomb. So on to the last number 1 slot, and this is the cards that I definitely think that you should be getting rid of right now, especially if they do not show up in large quantities at the Pro Tour. This is the current big guys on campus, the ones that hold the value in the standard format. So I'm talking about the Chandras and the Scarab Gods, the Hazoret the Fervents, the Torrential Gearhulks, and the Gideon of Trials. This is going to be a make or break tournament for the next 6 to 9 months to how well these cards are going to hold their value. Now, I'm under the impression that all of them are going to go down. Look at Gideon, the old Gideon, for example. Look at like Ishkanah. Look at a bunch of cards, Ulamogs, things like that, that even though they're still seeing a ton of play in Standard, once they got to that 9-month rotation time, they're going to crash in value as all the vendors have this mad race to get out of their Standard stock. So they're going to start undercutting each other. So the Scarab God currently at $45. That is a whopping price tag for a card in Standard. Chandra at 38 does have some modern pressure, same thing. Hazard the Fervent, if Ramming Up Red does not do well at this tournament, you should get out of Hazard the Fervent. Same thing with Torrential Gearhulk. If there isn't many copies of this, this is definitely a sell as quickly as possible. I would say all of these are day one sells if they're not doing extremely well. And then getting into the trials, if it isn't incorporated somewhat in this Pro Tour, it is time to get out. I'd even put Nicol Bolas on this list, or Ronus, the Indomitable on this list. As all of them, I think that the potential of these going down is a lot more risky than the potential of these going up or even stabilizing off. All of these rotated cards, now is the time to get out. Timing is everything in the Magic the Finance world. And I think these are the biggest offenders of cards that are going to crash in value. So there's my list of cards. I hope you enjoyed this the Rogue Market, and a special thanks to Quiet Speculation for picking up the tab for this video. These videos require a lot of editing and are much harder to do than my usual ramblings on the Market Monday. So if you do enjoy this video, please go check out Quiet Speculation. Give them a try, see if it's worth your while. They have a lot of invaluable tools, a lot of more in-depth price analysis than what I give you, or something like MTG Goldfish gives you for the MTG Finance. It also has a very robust forum of people that talk back and forth. You can actually even trade right there or find people to buy and sell right there in Quiet Speculation. So huge shout out to them for fronting the bill. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.